Call the St. John Park recreational meeting for April 2024. Go ahead and stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. Billy?
Stephanie Kriesbaum,
Here.
Mary Therese Roberts,
Here.
Mike Moffett,
Here.
Pat Conley,
Here.
Eric Beliska.
Here. Approval of minutes. Look for a motion to approve the minutes from March 19th as posted.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of March 19th, 2024.
We have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
I'll second the motion.
We have a second. All in favor of approving the minutes signify with an aye.
Aye.
All opposed with an A. And they're approved. Old business. Letter A, Gates Park Improvement Project Phase 1 update. Billy?
So Dave Schilling is here from Robinson Engineering to give an update on both phases.
Since we 1 and 2, all right.
Is this on?
It is on.
All right. I want to make that mistake again. Phase 1 is the walking path, the continuation of the walking path around the south side of the park. That's funded by, mostly by CDBG. That's federal funds distributed through the county. We had the pre-construction meeting with the contractor last Wednesday. That is Site Services, and they're going to start work on that May 1st or around there. And it's scheduled to be completed by mid-July. It won't take much to get some grading done, raise it up a little bit and pave the path. Also for Phase 2, or I guess any questions on Phase 1 before I move on to Phase 2?
I do. I have a couple things I wanted to ask.
Yep.
So on Gary Up was the only one that came in with a bid.
That's Phase 2.
Phase 2, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, Phase 1 was bid in November, so we're really just waiting for the weather to get that started. Okay. So yeah, now moving on to Phase 2, that is the pickleball courts, shaded benches, a little shelter between the pickleball courts, and then some security lighting, just for light at night, police driving by, making sure nobody is in the park. But we also put in alternate bids for lighting of the skate park for nighttime use and lighting for the pickleball courts for nighttime use. So the base bid came in at $682,600. Each alternate came in right at $102,000. One was $102,300. The other one was $102,650 for a total bid of $887,550. So correct, there was only one bidder. We called a bunch of different contractors. We actually wanted to get the contractor that's working on Phase 1 to bid on Phase 2, but they're a little bit smaller, Site Services out of Highland, so they did actually bid as the subcontractor to Gary Up. So they will be doing, the pickleball court paving should the town council and the park board award this to Gary Up. Typically, we like to say when there's only one bidder, you could do a rebid. In this case, we did open the bid because of the time. We don't want to lose 2 months having to rebid the project, and we try to get the low bid to be within 10% of the engineer estimate. That means probably would not benefit too much by rebidding anyway, and it was right at like 9.9% over the estimate.
So I had a couple questions for you on a few of the line items. So the first one, and I think was the most important, this mobilization and demobilization. So you all estimated it at 30,000. Gary Up came in at 46,575. So my question is, contractors sometimes have it in their contracts where they charge a percent if you will, or X amount of dollars for that they get paid up front.
Correct.
Okay, so for a job of this size, mobilization and demobilization should be anywhere from $6,000 to $10,000. So my question is this in the contract for them to get the lump sum up front, or is that what they are charging the town for mobilization and demobilization?
Right, they can, and I don't have that in front of me, but in the NDOT, we follow NDOT kind of general rules and regulations. They get a certain percent of that for mobilization, and they get the rest of it for demobilization. As you're alluding to, I mean, if it was really out of the park, if they bid it at 200,000, that's front-loading your bid, and that's illegal. I think they're just trying to cover some of the materials they have to order and, you know.
So it's in the
insurance and-
contract that
It
they're
is.
getting a percent up front.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
Then line 14, the seating. So for that, does that include watering because watering's an incidental, is it included in that cost that they're,
Yeah, it includes a certain amount of watering. It's for a certain period of time through the establishment period, but it does include the seed itself, the ground preparation, the fertilizer. The only thing that is paid separately is the erosion control blanket, but everything else
because
is
there's
included in the.
almost a $40,000 difference between what you all estimated as then compared to what Gary Up wants to charge for that.
Yeah, I mean, we do our best to estimate everything, and I think with the total coming in close, I think we did a decent job. I mean, we're never going to be each item perfectly, but yeah, I mean, if the town wanted to pull that out and do the restoration themselves or the seating themselves, that's certainly an option. But yeah,
And then my last question was on line item 19. So the 6-inch pipe that they're using for that, it's not a hard pipe, it's like a corrugated.
right, and that is for the under drain specifically. So, yeah, that's typical because it has the little slits in it to let the water in, you know, just to make sure that the pickleball courts are not sitting on wet clay and start to settle or have other problems.
Right, so for that one, the cost that you estimated that at is more of an accurate cost than what they did. And I understand that in the long run, it's a matter of maybe, you're at like 12.6 difference. But, the town pays for all that, and it is a significant, everything's significant.
For sure. That does include, the under drain does include the fabric and the rocks in the
Everything.
trench and all that stuff. It's not just the 6-inch corrugated pipe you
Okay.
get from Menards, but yeah, I mean, some items are higher and some are lower.
Thank you.
Sure.
And I was gonna say that, 'cause some things that they bid, like pickleball posts and net, they were at 40,000 and ended up coming in at 28,000, so I mean,
Right.
it did kinda offset, when you're talking 900,000,
Well,
800,000.
the major concern I had was the first line item, because, like I said, for a job that size, if you're talking, the cost of that should be $10,000. That's why I asked if there was a percent in the contract that they're getting a percent up front, and that's why their amount is that.
Yeah, we try to estimate that as 3% when we do our engineer's estimate.
Right.
And that's what we did here, based on right around there. But yeah, I mean, they're just probably trying to get their money a little bit sooner.
Yeah, it's an upfront payment that they're getting. Okay, thank you.
Sure. Anything else on phase 2? I don't think I have anything else until we get to later on in the meeting.
are you bringing up are you talking about the shade benches or whatever?
Yeah, I would talk about the ordering the materials ahead of time, that is solely based on the schedule. You know, we want to get those in production while we sign the rest of the contracts, you know, verify all the insurance. If we wait for the contractor to get all their insurance in order, have the contract signed, submit the shop drawings, we sign off on it, they could not be ordering them until May 15th. This is just a mechanism to get it going a lot faster.
What I meant, like, you said you were gonna bring something up later, was that it?
Oh,
or-
yeah, I'm also going to talk about the CDBG for Timberlane Park.
Or do you have anything about, because it's later, I didn't know if that was part of you or not, I didn't know if you're gonna still be here, but in the very end of ours is the payment of bills. It says, request to purchase park creation.
Yes.
7 shade benches and shelters at the gates.
Yes, that's what I was talking about. That's
So
ordering.
that's part of, okay,
That's part of this phase two, correct?
okay. Yeah, because we were kind of like, didn't know where that's coming in.
Yep.
So that's, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. So Billy, where are we at for us, where we're at right now? Like, what are we looking to do at this point?
On what part, Mike?
From, well, point A, point B, phase 1, and phase 2, is this just an update, so we're just gonna move on, or are we looking
Yeah,
for a
it's
motion
just-
of some type, or?
Just to bring everyone up to speed of where we're at, I would, if you're okay with the Dave's explanation and the amounts that came in, I would make a motion to send it to the council with approval from you guys.
So what you're saying is approval for the 887,550.
Yeah.
Now, where's that coming from? Just, I know it's coming from somewhere, I just,
Right. The park impact fees, we have some coming from ARPA, so various accounts.
and that was all part of?
Yes.
So we're still where we're supposed to be in this budget of this?
Yes.
All right,
Absolutely.
that's where I was going with that.
I'm good with that.
So, I guess, looking for a motion to accept the estimate that he's given us today and with the updates and to go forward with $887,550. Is that what we're looking for?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll make a motion for the Gates Park Improvement Project Phase 2 update. $887,550.
We have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second on the floor. Any other discussion on this? All in favor of the motion signify with an aye.
Aye.
Opposed with an A. And it's carried. All right, letter C, St. John Youth Baseball update.
So, just an update on the SJYB organization. They did sign the 2-year lease. We were able to secure the fields for the scheduled games. There was some, I don't know, I would say, a little bit of confusion on some of the T-ball stuff. So we were able to get use of Ms. Kleiman's field back here in Civic. I also called a company to come give us a proposal for a new T-ball field at Heartland Park. I know that program through both the boys and girls has grown, so it's something that's going to be needed in the future. They do have a cleanup date coming up soon. That'll be announced, and they're also looking for some volunteers for the concessions, and they're also looking at other avenues if they can't find those volunteers. But so far, moving pretty good.
For the Kyleman Field, we haven't had that for a couple years, right?
Right. I want to say it wasn't in use last year, but we went over with the park foreman, spoke to Ms. Kyleman, and were able to secure the use. So
Does it look like something we're gonna have for a while, or?
I think as long as that relationship stays okay and we
Right.
take care of it, yeah.
Right, 'cause,
think
I
it
mean,
will.
the 2 years that we've lost on it, it's, because I stopped by the way, because I used to take care of the field.
Right.
I went and looked at it, it's very much been taken over by weeds.
Yeah, so they started last week.
But I'm saying, I think that's something maybe we could help them out.
Yeah,
'Cause I
absolutely.
think
And-
that was like $7,000 or $8,000 to have a company come in. That was, I think it was Spillman, his company to come in. I think T&J Landscape does that kind of stuff. It'd be something we got to figure out.
Yep.
But I think that's something we should maybe try to help them out, because that's not a cheap thing, because those weeds are,
Right, Parks and Public Works was out there last week, starting to cut down some of the growth and rake it out. Obviously, we had all that rain, so that kind of stopped, but we're in the progress of getting up and running.
So we're working on it, oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Because like I was saying before, I know that was an issue. It's like, I went out there with the rake and I'm like, how am I getting this stuff up? And it's kind of gotten to that point, but unfortunately, we haven't had it for 2 years. She didn't let us use it.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
all right.
I have a question, please.
Yes.
What's transpiring with the concession stands? There's been a lot of chatter going on. I've been approached about it.
The individuals that they had running the concession stands, I think for the last 4 or 5 years, recently retired. And they're in the process of trying to find volunteers and maybe some other options if the volunteer portion isn't there. The town has also offered its help if needed, and we're waiting to hear back from them.
And the contract is signed.
Contract is signed, yes.
And the
games-
fields are being utilized, everything is going?
Yes.
'Cause I don't want to stop, it's none of our intention to stop children from playing baseball this year.
I think that was everyone's main goal, was to make sure that it's going to start on time, and, from where they're at in field maintenance and everything else, it looks like opening day will go on as it has in other years.
Just to confirm,
Yes.
because there's rumors going on out there about the concessions. We have nothing to do with concessions, right? It's the same
No.
as it always, like, we're not, as a park or the town or anything, nobody's trying to get a percentage off their money.
No.
No.
It's the same as it's always been.
the-
And that's what I thought.
Yeah, the
'cause I
lease clearly states that the concessions is 100% to SJYB. We're not looking for a percentage or to start running it.
I just want to make, because that was asked me specifically, I'm like,
Yeah.
no, I know, I'm 100% positive, I'm like, well, I better ask just to make sure.
Yeah, no, we've offered, any help that we can give them, and they were appreciative of it.
Because I know the manager that was there, she stepped down, I think it was last year, the year before, whatever it was. And I know
Right.
they just haven't had anybody to step up to fill that position.
Right.
So that's what the issue is, but it seems like all of a sudden they're trying to say it's our fault.
No, again, who says
I
what?
just wanted to make sure.
But I mean, if we're following posts and everything else,
Right.
you can clear. I mean, just the last one, they were, giving us a congratulations and how the lines of communication between the town and the league are going. So, I mean, you can read whatever you want on social media, but you've heard it through SJYB themselves today. And again, we're in communication and making sure everything goes okay.
Excellent. Dialogue is important. Thank
Yes.
you. Thank you, Billy.
Anybody else? Number 7, new business. Billy.
Item A is approval of an increase of $115.36 for the Premier Porta Potty service at Civic Park. It's an increase from $1,330, which was previously approved in December of 2023, to $1,445.36. They just didn't budget enough money, so we have to make up that shortfall.
Who didn't budget enough?
I would say the last park board and park management.
Because what I was curious about on that is, it wasn't December, I think it was December 11th, which was the contract that we signed. And on the contract, and I don't know who this is coming from, but on there it says what all the costs and everything are gonna be.
Right.
And part of that was that they said there would be no, the prices will be the same as they were for 2023. That was kind of their selling point. So we signed the contract.
Well,
That's why I was curious how they can come back and say now they want more.
so this is what was left over from last year. The amount should have been $1,445.36, not $1,330.
What do you mean 1440?
$1,445.36.
Well, that's what I'm saying, but what they told us it was gonna be was 1330. That's what we agreed on and signed.
Okay.
Now they're saying it's gonna be, whatever you just said, 1445. That's what I'm saying, if we sign that, how can they raise that? And obviously, they've done it to like 2 items or 3 items here.
Right. And again, this is all, the same issue, so if you'd like, we could I could
I'm
look
just
into it.
curious.
Yeah, I could look
Because
into
like
it.
usually when you sign a contract, it's like, this is
Right.
what we're paying, and all of a sudden now they're like, oh, sorry, we messed up, you owe us another $800.
Right.
That's why that's the only thing that I'm just kind of like, well, how can they do that to us? Or was it, we messed up on our side? If that's the case, that's fine.
The first time around, it should have been, again, $1,445.36. You guys approved $1,330. last December.
So the
we have
contract
20.
was for
Right.
1445, numbers were,
Yes.
Off then.
That's my understanding, and I will get you a copy of that.
okay, thank you, thank
And
you.
email it over to you guys.
Do you see where we're going, Mike?
Definitely.
Okay.
I was thinking that the company told us, because like I said, we have this printout.
Right.
That's all we were given. We weren't given the actual, what the company said. That's what I thought this was, the company.
Right, and I can, like I said,
Understand.
I'll pull it in and get you guys a copy.
I just want to make sure the company wasn't
Yeah.
like all of a sudden like, hey, now you have another $800.
No.
You know, it isn't that much money, but at the end of the day,
Right,
these things add up.
absolutely.
You know, and if we can put into more positive things for kids, you know, I'm for saving pennies.
That makes sense.
All right, so I'm looking for a motion for A, for the Civic Park porta potties.
I'll make a motion for the Civic Park porta potties to pay $1,445.36.
We have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor of the Civic Park porta pots, signify with an aye.
Aye.
All opposed with an A, and it's carried. Letter B. Billy?
This is also an increase in the porta pot service. It went from $6,270 to $6,758.58 for an increase of $488.58.
And is this the same kind of deal?
Same
as-
issue, yes.
Okay.
It was just these two issues, these two, the A and the B are the ones that's the last
Correct.
question.
Yep.
So I'm looking for a motion on letter B for the, what is that? The various park properties.
I'll make a motion for Premier Porta Potty Services at various park properties.
I'll second that motion.
And that was a motion for $6,758.58.
Yes, sorry, Mike, $6,758.58.
We have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor of the porta pots for the various parks through town for $67.58.58, signify with an aye.
Aye.
Opposed with an A, and it's carried. Letter C.
This is approval with Premier Porta Potty Services for $2,067.36. These are for the portable restrooms for this year's farmer's market.
All right, looking for a motion for the Farmers Mark porta pots.
I'll make a motion for the approval of the 2024 Premier Porta Potty Services for $2,067.36 for the farmers market's portable restrooms.
We have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Go again.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion on the floor and a second. All in favor, signify with an aye.
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 Opposed with an A, and it's carried.
Item D is approval of the 2024 independent contractor agreements for these 6 individuals. It's for volleyball referees for the 2024 summer volleyball season.
I'm looking for a motion to approve the listed volleyball referees for 24 volleyball season.
I'll make a motion for the 2024 independent contractor agreements for the listed individuals for volleyball referees for 2024 summer volleyball season.
We have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, signify with an aye.
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 Opposed with an A. That's carried. Letter E, Willie.
This is also approval for an independent contractor agreements with the listed individuals, and this will be for camp counselors for our recreation instructors for the 2024 summer camps.
All right. Looking for a motion of the 2024 recreational instructors for the 2024 summer camps.
I'll make a motion for the 2024 independent contractor agreements with the various people right here for the park and recreation instructors for the 2024 summer camps.
We have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second on the floor. All in favor, signify with an aye.
Aye.
Opposed with an A, and it's carried.
Item F is approval of the 2024 independent contractor agreements for pickleball lessons by Pickle Time. The dates will be June 6th from 1:30 to 3 p.m., June 8th from 9 a.m. to 10:30 a.m., June 13th from 1:30 to 3 p.m., and June 20th from 1:30 to 3 p.m. It's at Pickle Time in Crown Point, and that is at a cost of $35 per person.
Looking for a motion for the approval of the pickleball agreement through Pickle Time.
I'll make an approve.
So you can say it better.
I'll make a motion to approve the 2024 independent contractors agreement for pickleball lessons by Pickle Time.
We have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
We have a motion on the floor and a second. All in favor signify with an aye.
Aye.
Opposed with a nay. Letter G.
Letter G is approval of an independent contractor agreement for martial arts classes. They'll be by Northwest Indiana Martial Arts Academies. That'll be on Thursdays from June 20th to August 15th at the Parks Building, and that is at a cost of $79 per person.
I'll make a motion to accept the approval of 2024 independent contractor agreement for martial art classes by Northwest Indiana Martial Arts Academy.
We have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify with an aye.
Aye.
Opposed with a nay. And it's carried. Letter H. Billy.
Letter H is also an approval of an independent contractor agreement for Cooking with Kids. Classes given by Gina Zinowitz. On March 28th, it'll be a pizza making class. On June 4th, it'll be finger sandwiches. On July 16th, they'll be doing mocktails. August 6th will be a fruit pizza. September 5th will be a healthy food session. On October 28th will be Halloween cooking. And on November 25th, it'll be a turkey cake. That'll be at our Parks facility, our Parks building, April 17th from 12 to 1:30 p.m.
How much was that one?
That I don't have on here, Mike, so I will
No,
get that for you.
So that's tomorrow, April 17th. I'll make a motion for approval for the 2024 independent contractor agreement for Cooking with the Kids classes by Gina Zenowitz.
We have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second on the floor. All in favor signify with an aye.
Aye.
Opposed with an A. And it's carried. Letter I. Billy.
Letter I will be approval of 2024 independent contractor agreement for the senior watercolor class by Tom Lubaka. That'll be on April 17th from 12 to 1:30 p.m.
All right, looking for a motion to approve the contract with watercolors, senior watercolors.
I'll make a motion to approve the independent contractor agreement for 2024 for senior watercolor class by Tom Lubica.
We have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion signify with an aye.
Aye.
Opposed with an A. And it's carried. Letter J.
Letter J is the approval of the 2024 Kyleman Field Lease Agreement. Like we discussed before, keeping the property up to standards and making sure it's cleaned up before and after the games.
Who pays that? Do we pay that or baseball?
We secured it through the
Pay the
town.
$350 or whatever?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mike, the actual amount was not 350. I think it was less than that, but I will.
I was just reading through it today.
Yeah,
Trying
it
to,
was in the packet, and I didn't bring my packet out there.
so with the field agreement, and we'd be paying for it?
Yes.
Okay. Looking for a motion for the approval of the 2024 Kyleman Field lease agreement at the park department's cost. Somebody like to make that motion?
I'll make a motion for the approval of the 2024 Kyleman Field lease agreement.
We have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
I'll
sec-
second that.
We've got the second.
Want me to go again?
Go
I'll second that.
We have a motion on the floor and a second. All in favor signify with an aye.
Aye.
Opposed with an A. And it's approved. Letter K. Kimberly Clark.
Letter K, I'm gonna bring Dave back up to discuss the CDBG grant.
Hey,
Thank you, Bill. So CDBG is federal funds, like I said, distributed by Lake County. Historically, St. John has used CDBG funds for its parks. There are other uses, but because parks benefit the entire town, it is one of the most straightforward uses. Like I mentioned, the Gates Park Phase 1, the completion of the walking path, was done with CDBG funds. The town gets those funds every other year through the county. So the Gates Park was the 2022 batch of funds. What we're proposing for 2024 is to do some improvements to Timberlane Park. That is the one off of 90th Avenue, just west of Patterson. The playground is out of date, out of code. There's some problems with roots pushing up and cracks in the walking path. The ADA ramp from the street is out of code, so we're proposing around $200,000, 80 of which would be CDBG funds to improve that park. We would apply for funding this month. Applications due, I think, next week, and then probably get awarded in September or October, develop the plans over the winter, and be ready to hit construction early in 2025. I have some pictures, if anybody's interested in seeing them, and the estimate.
So that particular park things are not up to code.
Correct.
Got it.
So it would be
Upgrades
something-
and code
Yep.
issues and things like that?
Yep.
Okay.
And then just the path itself, if you went and saw it, you would see that it definitely needs improvement. There's a
Yeah.
tree that needs to come down that's pushing it up, and some tripping hazards, stuff like that.
Okay.
So what are we looking for from us? Just a motion to move on? with
I guess
it, or-
just a favorable, that you're on board with, applying for the funds. I know there was some other projects that were more urgent, but with the time frame of CDBG not being able to construct it until 2024, I think that staff thought that this was 2025, thought that this was a better option for the grant.
Any other discussion or questions? I guess we're looking for,
Motion for the grant.
go ahead, make it.
I'd like to make a motion for the Timberland Park CDBG grant discussion to apply for the grant for the park.
Does that sound good, Billy?
Yeah, I think that'll cover it.
All right, perfect. We have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second on the floor. All in favor, signify with an aye.
Aye.
Opposed with an A. And it's carried. Number 8, reports and correspondence. Board members, anything from the board members?
No, sir.
No, my main concern was that we got the contract signed, everything's going, the kids are gonna play, opening day is gonna happen, concession stands being, one other thing, signage for the upcoming farmer's market. Will there be signage telling people not to park by the ATM, where to park?
So
Because let's stop the bull from going in the China shop,
Yeah,
okay?
No, those signs are already, if they're not ready, being produced.
Thank you very much, thank you.
No, sir.
All good? All right. Letter B, town staff. Anybody have anything?
Just to wish Pat here a very happy birthday.
We have to say.
He took time out
Thank
of
you.
his exciting night that he was going to have
Yes.
tonight to make sure he was here.
My wife is waiting for me at home.
There we go.
Anything from anybody else?
No, I'm good, thank you.
That would be the town manager C. Number 9, payment of bills. Letter A, request to purchase the approval of Park Creations, Inc. Request to purchase for 7 shade benches and 1 20-by-20 shelter at the Gates Park in the combined total of $90,778.
Thank you. Like I explained earlier, this is just a mechanism to get the park equipment ahead of time. So Gary Ip's bid, or the bid package that we released, had install only for these materials. So these materials will be delivered from Park Creation in Valparaiso right to the park, and then Gary Up will install the footings and get everything up as it fits the rest of the schedule. And again, I do have the quotes here and the pictures. The pictures are not the correct color, but I can pass those around as well if you're interested in seeing those.
Now, this is not part of phase two. This is,
It is.
Yeah.
so if we're to pay the 90,000, that's part of that 800
Correct.
and whatever. Okay.
Correct, yeah. Gary Up's bid was to install these things, not furnish and
So
install.
we're just looking to purchase these, or like, okay.
Exactly.
Yeah, the
To get
install
ahead of time,
part.
get ahead of it.
Yep.
Yeah.
I just have one question. With the sun coming up, you know, you have, if you make stationary roofs, sometimes you'll have the stationary roof right here, and the shaded part is like 10 feet away. Is there any way that there's adjustable where we can turn the roof in different directions because the sun going around? Because it will, you know, if you ever put your tent up.
Yeah,
a lot of
I
times you're
understand what you're saying.
standing under the tent, it's still hot, you know, still sunny, and outside the tent, there's where the ground, shade is.
These particular ones are not adjustable, but if you look at the size, they're oversized for the benches. But no, these are not adjustable.
Okay.
Just something else to
I'm
break.
assuming they're similar to what some of the other parks already have. You know, the
Yes,
big,
For sure,
yeah. Thank you.
sure.
I know I looked at it today, and I forgot what the colors were. Are these gonna be similar to the colors of the equipment out there?
So we're getting navy and
It is,
mild
yes.
gray.
Same
We have
color.
the-
This
is just
We have
what
the
it looks
colors
like.
pictured, a lot of blues and grays.
And is that the same color as the playground that's out there already?
Exactly.
Okay,
Yep.
that's what I was getting
As
at.
close as we could get, you know.
To what's already- yeah.
Right.
Just the pictures don't give you, here's the colors.
And that's the big
Mr.
shelter
Martin.
thing.
Is that next to the riverfront?
And what are the shade benches? Are those pictured on here?
The benches themselves are not. The benches will be part of the other. Gary will supply the benches. It was the shade structures. Is that correct? The shade structures were the ones that had the longer lead time. Benches are commonly available.
Like, what kind of benches are we looking? I mean, like,
It'll match what's there.
like just a picnic table, or is it like?
No, like
is this
a bench with a back so you
Like
can
a park
sit.
bench.
There will be a
Like a CTA bench.
in the
Permit?
center of the pickleball court, there's a pavilion with like a picnic table underneath it. But the benches on the outside would just be for people facing the courts, either watching or waiting their turn. You know, a
So
standard
they'd be
park bench
permanent.
with.
They'd be into the concrete.
Correct.
That's kind of what I was trying to
Yep,
get with it.
yep.
Because I remember last year we kind of said we're not going to go with the cheap benches anymore. We're going to start getting the heavy, nicer, not a bunch of picnic tables. That's where I was
Correct.
kind of going up with the permanent.
Yeah, right, yeah, not just a
That's-
wooden, yeah, yeah,
Right.
a nice bench mounted to the concrete, correct.
I kind of got a question for everybody here rather than him. Remember a while ago we were talking about gentleman that came in here. He was worried about like a park being named after him or whatever, and we said that we'd talk about the benches, and you know, like donate a bench in his name and his family's name and whatnot. Can we do something like that here and kind of combine everything, or is
What,
it going to
for
be
him,
something
or-
different? Well, him or whoever.
His part, he was a different part. But I know that was the memorial benches.
Yes.
Are we still working on that, or did that kind of go by the wayside for a little bit?
So we haven't brought that up,
Yeah, so,
you know, on this board, but if that's something you guys like me to look into, I can.
yeah, because then, I mean, we could,
I just didn't know if we can, you know, cut some costs on our side where I know we had the memorial benches and now we're putting other benches in and they're supposed to be in the park.
well, you said Gary was paying the benches, right?
Yes,
So that would be, that's not part of this 90, oh, I guess it would be.
correct.
It's all
I
part of the
can,
800.
I will get the shop drawings for the benches themselves that we specified and make sure you guys, I'll send it to Bill and he can
I
just.
think what we were trying to look at before is get like memorial benches, so say,
Like in memory of,
Yeah,
and somebody wants to pay whatever the cost was for that bench, and I have no clue, I don't remember what it was, but say it was $2,000 for a bench. That person's paying for that, we put it up, and that'd be a way to save some cost on some
Yeah,
benches.
put a-
That- I think that's where
put a
he's
plaque
going.
on there or whatever, yeah.
Exactly.
I understand what you're saying.
And where that came from was that park across the street from the gates, I forgot the name, Founders? The people who kind of donated once that land to us, he was, you know, he was in here one time saying, he gave us the whole history. It was pretty neat hearing him talking about it. And I wanted to get one of those benches put in there, and just in memory of his family. And I know a couple times we've gone through like, yeah, we're going to do that. We just never did. But that's neither here nor
like
there.
that
I got
idea.
off the subject. I apologize.
Is that something?
That I definitely want to do is get a bench in that park, that
Okay.
Founders Park, with that, I don't know.
The
how far
family
it-
name?
With the family name that donated all that.
Okay.
Because I know that was approved on 2 different boards. Then, there's been a lot of things going on.
Okay.
I like that.
Where were we at?
Well, thank you, everyone.
Well,
Any other discussion on that? Do you have anything else?
I do not, thank you.
All right, so I'm looking for a motion for the request to purchase for this.
I'll make a motion to request a purchase for approval of Park and Recreations, Inc. And request to purchase 7 shade benches and 1 20-by-20 shelter at the Gates Park in a combined total of $90,778.
We have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
We have a motion on the floor and a second. All in favor signify with an aye.
Aye.
Opposed with an A. And it's carried. Letter B, accounts payable. I don't know if there's 2 different prices here. When I was looking at, I don't know where the other one went.
Pay the lower one.
Well, yeah, we want to pay the lower one. I had it highlighted. The paper's showing 28,94648, and what we were sent today from the clerk was 29,324.
I would approve the
29,324.
324.
That was kind of what I was asking.
Yep.
So I'm looking for a motion to pay the bills for a total of $29,324.12.
I'll make a motion for accounts payable voucher dates April 16, 2024. Payment for Park and Recreation Board for the Town of St. John in the combined total of $29,324.12.
We have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second. We have a motion and a second on the floor. All in favor signify with an aye.
Aye.
Opposed with an A. And it's carried. Number 10, public comment. Any public comment?
Hi there.
Hello?
My
Your
name,
name and your address?
Yes.
You're getting ready to, sorry.
Barbara Levan, 13636 Stanton Court in Saddle Creek subdivision. One of the board members there, and the last time that I came to a meeting, which is the last board, Michael Shea told us that we were second on the list for Help Park to have their playground equipment being replaced. Are you able to tell me where we're at with that? And this discussion has been very enlightening. How do we, as Help Park, which is in our subdivision, get included with the CDBG? How is that done? How is that nominated that certain parks are nominated? And how do we get ours included? Because our playground equipment is very old. The path is broken up by the weeds where the asphalt is buckling. And I understand Altoff put the walking path in where the wetlands are, but the walking path is, I'm sorry, a piece of shit. It's horrible. And we are, at this time, trying to deal with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, plus with Marty Moplin, with IDEM.
So,
I don't know if you can answer any of that.
okay.
Answer just off the top of my head, but I don't
Right,
know any
and
details.
I'm not sure, and I can pull the records if you have the date from when that was discussed. Obviously, it was prior to January of this year.
Sure, yes,
And
it
we will
was.
look into it. I'll come by tomorrow and check out the park and the other list of issues that you may have. And then if you'd like to leave me your phone number before you go, I can call you tomorrow after I visit there with the park staff and give you an update and where we think we can go and when.
Okay, and how do we get added to this CDBG?
So the CDBG is only for a set amount, and it's for this year's for this year's amount, it was already, you know.
How do you
for
get nominated?
Well, again, we check make sure it fits the criteria, you know, for the ADA and everything else. But after inspecting the park, we'd be able to give you a better answer on that.
Okay, and right now, there's bushes out in front of the park, like when you come in Saddle Creek, you come to a stop sign, and there's bushes all there. They're not very well kept up with. Are we able to cut them and remove bushes that need to be removed?
Is that in a HOA kept area, do you know?
I mean, we hear back and forth.
Okay.
HOA is responsible for it, then we hear town is responsible for it. So
Well,
it's been both parties.
I'll tell you
doing
what, after tomorrow, you'll have a definite answer, and if it is in the town's portion, we'll make sure we get them. If not, we will contact the HOA, and
Okay.
in fact, I think we'll see some of them, some of those guys tomorrow.
The weeds are already getting bad,
Mm-hmm.
and they're just out of control, plus the trees,
Mm-hmm.
the pine, what do you call it? The pine cones, the evergreens, they're getting out of control, that some of the branches are branching out into the walking paths.
Okay.
I mean, there's a lot of work that needs to be done out there.
We're glad you brought it to our attention, and like I said, after the meeting, I'll grab your phone number.
Okay.
And then we'll go from there.
All right,
All
sounds
right?
good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Before you go, I know a lot of it before what they had is like, we had this big packet and had every park in town as how old they are, what needs to be done and everything. So that was kind of how we were going, like, next park we're doing is this one, next one we're doing this one. I know the Timberland, that's gotta be 30-plus years old, just that park alone. So it's not like we're going like, oh, well, let's go pick up this, because there's a nice subdivision being built.
I'm just curious how you
Right, and
do that.
and it was kind of like before, it's like, well, now you're bringing it to our attention, it might raise it a little bit, because we're like, we just really weren't paying attention, we know where it's at on that list. And it's, like I said, that was, you know, before. Now by you bringing it, we can look at it, obviously, he's gonna, you know, help you out on that.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Number 11, adjournment. Looking for a motion for adjournment.
I'll make a motion for an adjournment.
We have a motion on the floor, do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and then a second. All in favor, signify with an aye.